previous commitment this evening.
Yeah, Dave Frankel.
Dave said he was going to call in.
Okay. And Bob Hutterman, I don't see Bob either yet, so we'll be on the lookout for him. But we have a quorum. There are 3 of us, so we do have a quorum. So let me ask Alice and Allison, you guys all set on the? I can't even see the light. It does shine there, but it's not coming this far over.
We are streaming and recording. Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, get my pencil here. It's 7 o'clock.
Hi, everybody. It's Dave Frankel.
Hi, Dave. You are just in time.
Yeah, sorry. I got a little delayed. Sorry.
So, all right, everybody. Well, like I said, it's just about 7:01 here. I'd like to call to order a regular meeting of the Brookfield Inland Wetlands Commission. Today is Monday, the 14th of September, 2020. My name is Sharon Fox. I act as the chair of the commission. With me also is Mr. Dave Frankel, who's an alternate member, Mr. Michael Neustadt, who is a regular member, and Mr. Mark Mulvaney, who is our vice chairman. So we have 4. So all will be voting members this evening. Also with us is Alice Dew, who is the Wetlands Enforcement Officer, and Allison Kennedy, who is our recording secretary. So again, we have 2 other members. One we don't think is going to be here, but we'll be on the lookout for Bob Hutterman. All right, so just a matter on a personal note, everyone. I've had a couple things happen here this evening for me on a personal note, and we do have a full agenda. I must call it quits by 10:30.
Yeah, I have to be out of here before that even, so.
Okay, so, all right, I said, so, I'm not sure how long things are going to take, but I said, I just have a couple of matters that need my attention. So, so we'll see how it goes. So, I don't know, Michael, if you want to make a comment on that, or if you have anything, I don't want to jump over.
I'll go along with whatever your issue is. I understand.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you for that. All righty, everybody. But let's see. Let's start with wetlands enforcement.
Actually, we have no change on those to make things quick.
Okay.
Moving on.
Yeah, moving on.
Moving on. Okay. I didn't see anything in town that I noticed. Anybody?
No.
All right. Again, we don't have any site inspection reports. We do have we have an agenda here called the continued public hearing. I think that relates to item number 5, which is a public hearing, which we are continuing. I think that's how the agenda goes. Everybody agree with me on that?
I agree.
Yes, that would be the
Would
correct
make
one.
sense, wouldn't it?
Yeah, so again, I know, appreciate, these are not easy to put together. So again, for anyone who's got the agenda and taken a look at it, that's the story there. I think I'd like to go to that public hearing, as has been our custom over the last couple of years. We're going to go to that after we go through old business and new business. If everyone's all right with that.
Mm-hmm.
All righty. So the first one we have is first old business. Just to be sure here. We have 17 Old Turnpike. And that was a modification to the existing permit. Let me just take, anybody here from 17 Old Turnpike?
Yes, Bill Van Slyke is here.
Oh, hi, Bill.
Tony Petrini is here.
And I'm sorry, who else?
Tony Petrini.
Okay, great. Thank you, Mr. It's Petrini? Did I get that right? Okay, sorry.
Yep.
All right. Just to refresh my memory on this one. Let me just grab the plan here. So you guys, we've got a, let's see, we don't have anything new.
The pipe. It pertains to a pipe, so there's no leakage in his basement.
right. So
Wants
let's
to
take,
extend the pipe close to the edge of the property. It's leaking into the basement after the creation of or installation of a pool. Wants to create a swale to bring the water down to the wetlands.
right, so, oh, okay, so
I
am
asked for
looking-
some stuff added to the construction sequence.
I did add items to the sequence and submitted it.
Okay, so I am looking at, look at the application. Well, I'm looking at the revised site plan from 8/24. Is that the most current one? That's a note that's just a letter, right? The plan is the revised site plan 8/21/2020.
Yeah, I can't access any of that tonight.
All right.
I believe that is the revised one, yes.
All right.
See it.
All right. I know that's no help for you, Mark or Dave, but I can get to it.
Okay.
So let's take a look at it. So is that the right one, gentlemen?
Yes, I
The-
believe, yes.
Okay. Again, I've said it before, but again, I appreciate everyone's patience. This is so much harder now that we're having to do this online. So it isn't like we can just sit right there and take a look at everything. So we've got the swale. Do you want to, can we do this? Allison or Alice, can you guys open that so everyone can see it, including Mark, who's having difficulty?
Yeah,
Are you
I'm trying to-
looking to view the revised site
I'm
plan?
on the phone, so, you know,
Yeah, you got to look at it on your
Yep,
own. Yeah,
yep.
we're looking at it's the fourth one on the agenda. It's this thing called 14 Old Turnpike, Van Slyke Residence Revised Plan 8/21/2020.
Okay, I'm gonna share that to the screen.
Okay.
it's not 14, it's 17, I believe.
Yes.
Sorry about that. Yeah, 17 Old Turnpike. All righty. So there's the swale. I see the house. I see the pool. And that's just a, Mark, I don't know, can you see that, Mark? There's the drainage and then there's,
Yep.
Could I ask, which I can't tell from this, what is existing and what is the proposed change you're asking for right now?
You want to tell him, Bill, or should I?
Yeah, go ahead, Tony.
Okay. We built, we brought the leader drains down, and we brought a drain from behind the wall out to daylight. And when we brought it out to daylight wasn't high enough to get the water to flow through the pipe behind the wall. So it needs to drop about 4 inches. So in order to drop it 4 inches without creating a hole, we need to create a swale. So what we're going to do is we're going to go back to where it comes out from under the wall, which is where the belly of the pipe is. And we're going to bring it out lower, but then bring it down the yard towards the wetlands to get pitch so that it goes to daylight.
Okay, so it currently, it goes to daylight. I'm assuming the wall is those rock kind of things
Yep.
below the pool. And it ends there now? And you want to extend?
It ends just outside the fence. So it pretty
Okay.
much ends where see where the equipment is on the there's a little fenced in area where the equipment is.
Oh, yeah, pool equipment, okay.
It ends just uphill of that by
And
about less than 10 feet.
Okay, so you want to extend the pipe until it reaches this grass-covered swale, which will be new, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Is there a reason we can't make that swale 40 or 50 feet instead of 30 feet and have less pipe? and then have some potential for.
Not without getting enough pitch to get the end of the pipe to daylight. No. That's why we did the 45-degree angle and then came out lower in the yard. We need 4 inches of pitch from that point, and in order to get it, we only have 8 all the way to the end of the yard.
But theoretically, you should be able to. I mean, whether you did a swale 30 feet, you're kind of maintaining the same pitch. So I'm assuming you got what, about 100 feet here, 80 feet, 100 feet.
Yeah, something like that.
Total. So if you had 80 feet and you got 8 inches of pitch, you got an inch per foot. I mean, inch per 10 feet. So you got a 1%. So you could do that on the whole thing in a swale in theory. I don't know if the law allows
but
that.
where the pipe, the problem is where the pipe comes out to daylight now, there's a belly in the pipe, and it's not taking the water away. So I have to go lower than where it comes out to daylight now. That's why I need to go further towards the woods in order to get that belly out of the pipe. Right now it goes to daylight. It just the water doesn't come out.
And I think we're going to need to see some riprap where that pipe daylights, and possibly some kind of berm or two to slow it down for a rain event. My 2 cents. Sharon, do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I would be thinking, I said something to slow that water down in that channel, whether that's, maybe it's not a grass swale for the first 5 or 10 feet, maybe you got some riprap in there, and it can just hit the riprap instead of hitting grass.
Right.
And that should slow the water down. Because so I think that's useful. Otherwise, I mean, are you concerned at all about washout?
Am I?
Yeah.
No, because I'm going to put sod in the swale, so it will be established from day one, and it won't wash out. Riprap, I'm just trying to make this as maintenance-free as possible. Riprap's going to be a maintenance nightmare for the homeowner because you can't mow it, and most people spray it because they don't want to they don't want to deal with the weeds. So I'm trying to keep it so that he could mow it in the future and not have to worry about a maintenance nightmare.
But rain, sod or not, established grass or not, a storm event is going to wash out the dirt at some point. Maybe not the first week or the first storm, but relatively quickly we find that earth erodes at the daylight of a pipe. Do you not find that?
No, I don't. If you put sod, I mean, yeah, if you put anything other, if you try to do erosion control or hay with seeded dirt, topsoil, then yeah, I could see that washing out. But sod, no, I don't see sod washing out.
Well,
history would tell me otherwise.
I have seen sod wash out. I've seen it happen. So.
Not on a pitch from a 4-inch pitch over 30 feet. Have you? I mean, it's literally 4 inches over 30 feet from the end of the pipe to the end of the swale.
I'm specifically talking not the whole trench, specifically talking where the pipe daylights. If you were to
I'm
have
talking about the whole trench.
Major storm, no, we're talking, and Ms. Fox said the first 5 or 8 or 10 feet. I'm thinking the first 5 feet or so that you need something. And a splash, I would suggest a splash pad, but that's going to do nothing to slow the water down. So that's where riprap becomes a better instrument for a wetlands consideration.
So you want 5 feet of riprap and then sod?
That's what we're discussing.
Yep.
I'm only one member.
Yeah, that's kind of what I am thinking. And I have 2 other questions for you. You have a note here. It says the approximate setback from the wetlands. You've got a little note there. Is there supposed to be like a distance associated with that, or can you? I'm not grasping with why you've got that notation and an arrow pointing to a dotted line. Is that the wetlands? Is that the wetlands line? Is that what you're trying to convey there?
But I thought it was.
Okay, is that right?
That is the wetlands line, yes.
Okay. And my second question is,
So that's not the setback from the wetlands. That's the wetlands,
that's the wetlands line.
which is what I
Right.
interpreted it as.
Is that right?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. They said the wording is odd. And what is this detail 1? There's a stone wall and pipe is.
That's showing what's behind the wall. That's the pipe with the belly in it.
Too small for me to read.
And where is that located? I mean, physically, where
Thank you.
is that wall?
It's on the drawing.
All right, I'm not.
Just below the pool.
It's the only wall on the drawing. It looks
Yes.
like stone.
At the bottom of the drawing,
Come,
where the wall is,
it comes off the corner of the house toward the fence, well, parallel to the fence, and then towards the other fence.
I see the pitch of the drain.
Could you scroll down? Is it Allison that's sharing, or
Allison is.
down a little more, Allison? One more click. There's
There
the
you
wall.
go.
Oh, okay, there we go. There's the stone
So
retaining.
the bottom of this is the high part of that wall. Is that correct? The plan south is the high part of the wall, and the pool is on the lower part.
I'm not following what you're asking.
Is it,
looking at to the left is north, to the bottom is west. And the smaller images there is actually stone, white decorative stone. And the larger circles, the actual stone wall looking from the top
I understand that.
down on.
Which side is the high side of that wall? The pool?
To the right along that black.
Oh, no, the pool,
The pool, the base of the wall, or pool at the top of the wall?
Pardon
the
me?
pool is on the face of the wall. So if you're at the pool looking at the wall, you're looking at the front of the wall.
All right, so the pool is on the low edge of the wall, the low side of the wall, retaining wall.
Yes.
Thank you. And this catches the roof leaders as well,
Yes. Yes.
and anything that rains on that pool deck. And
Yeah.
and what is west
If it works
of
its
that
way under.
existing fence and gate? What's that? West of that? Is that grass or driveway?
It's grass.
Is it pitched towards this drain?
Is the grass pitched towards the drain?
Yeah, does the whole lawn from front to back pitch back towards that wetland?
Towards. Yes.
All right, so this is intercepting the water that would get to the pool. I'm just trying to come to grips with how this is laying out.
The water used to always go where it's going to go. It just is getting there a different way now. It used to always come off the leader drains and then flow to the wetlands. Now it's just going to get there through a pipe instead of over the grass. That's why we're trying to create enough grass for it to filter the water before it gets there.
And all of this is being done so there isn't water in the basement, right?
The problem is the pipe under the wall is a perforated pipe. There's a belly just after where it's perforated, and the water's not making it over the hump of the belly to get to daylight, So it's leaching into the holes in the perforated pipe, and it's getting to the basement.
But is that pipe new?
Yes.
Since from this permit, that pipe is new from the existing permit W20-3.
I don't know what that code is, but it's new. It was put in when the wall was put in, yes.
Yeah, when you put the pool in recently.
Bill, when did you put the pool in? June?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, I just have to see something to slow, without having to go through a ton of engineering to get water flow calculations and all that. What size is the pipe, by the way? Is it 4 inch or 6 inch?
4 inch.
Okay.
Orange.
And this takes the whole roof or just like half the roof?
I believe it's half.
From the house and the garage, which is total, this roof is like 3/4 of the entire roof of house and garage.
Did anybody engineer to see that 4 inch was big enough for that? I don't know how big the house is, but now you're adding, the surface area of the patio around the pool as well. And it's not working now. I know there's a belly, but.
That's why it's not working, because there's a belly.
Well, you also don't want to get overwhelmed with, over too much water. I mean, on a heavy storm, 2 roof leaders can fill up a 4 inch pipe, let alone anything from a pool patio. Not the problem for right now, I guess, but it was just my thinking. But I would definitely need to see, without having to have you go through and do a bunch of engineering to design the size of a riprap pad. I got to see I personally would have to see something there.
Yeah,
My opinion is that's going to erode eventually. There's a lot of water potentially coming through that pipe.
Yeah, that's my thinking. That's my thinking as well. I was debating whether we could talk about, maybe a couple of water bars, on this 30-foot pitch. It looks like it's down maybe about this.
So what's a
swale.
water bar? Where would a water bar go in that swale that's 6 inches deep and
It would just slow it.
maybe 18 inches wide?
It's just going to start to slow the water down. Whether it's I'm thinking, like I said, I've been looking at it going, could we think about a water bar? I'm sensitive to your point about riprap and the maintenance, and because I think this is going to have to be weed whacked, right? I mean, I'm looking at the depth of this swale.
No,
Looks like
it can be mowed.
4
It's
inches.
only 4 inches deep. It's going to be mowed. It's not a water bar is going to, you put a water bar across a road to get the water to stop flowing down the road and go off the side. This is literally 4 inches deep and 18 inches wide. It's not an application for a water bar whatsoever.
All right. Well, again, I'm
Riprap maybe, but not a water bar, because there's nowhere for it to go other than straight down the swale. If you put
we
a water
want it to
bar
go
in
down the
diagonal,
swale. The point of the water bar in this
But-
case is to slow it down so that we're not getting, that sheet flow
so
down.
you want to just create a hump in the swale to back the water up and make puddles all the way down, because there's nowhere for it to go
Right.
other than down the middle of the swale. So you want to
Right.
create a bunch of puddles in the swale?
I don't think anybody was talking about a bunch. I certainly wasn't. I'm not going to speak for anyone else.
No, I was
Well,
thinking
water
about. I said,
bars is plural. I don't know how many
Okay.
water bars.
then let's make it simple then. I said, I think, I think it's important. I do appreciate it's 4 inches over 30 feet. It is half the roof. I think, some riprap, 5 feet of riprap in the, the first part of the swale, and I'll be agreeable.
I
What
can
size
sign
riprap
off
were
on
you
that.
thinking?
I'm sorry.
6 to 8? What size riprap were we thinking?
I was thinking 4 to 6.
Yeah, I was thinking 4 to
4 to
6.
6?
Yeah.
All right. It's going to be like one layer of riprap because the
Yes.
trench is only 4 inches deep.
Yes,
Yep.
yes.
Yep, that's fine.
Okay.
All right.
So 5 feet of 4-inch riprap.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then
as
stop.
wide as the trench. So whether it's 3 feet or however wide this trench is overall.
It's 18 inches wide.
There you go.
Okay, there you go.
if that.
The problem, Chairwoman Fox, is in a regular meeting, we can draw right on the plan and fix this tonight. How do we do that in a virtual meeting?
We
Well-
could do a motion that includes that particular,
Well, it has to be referenced on a drawing by our bylaws.
oh, okay.
Well,
But it has to be signed by the applicant, Alice. So, oh, you know what? Alice could draw it. The applicant could view it on screen and agree to come down in the next day or two to sign it. Maybe we could do that.
Yep, and then
Yeah. However, I think you're going to need an appointment to go to town hall. I don't think you can freely walk in.
right, right. But we have some time to do that. I mean, I think we can come to, we can make the motion, say that the plan will be updated to include, a 5 feet distance of 4-inch rip wrap to be noted on the plan. I mean, I can.
Like this.
I could, eventually I've got to sign it. So, Alice, do you have any ideas? Other ideas?
No, I just wrote it on there, and I can send this to him for his. He doesn't really need to approve it.
He has
You
to
do.
sign it, initial it, and date it for us
Okay,
to be
So I
before
could-
Sharon signs it, so it's an official.
I could
document.
scan this to him, and he could send me back a signed copy.
Right.
There you go.
I'm
That works.
agreeable to that.
And I think, and part of the signature is just to, ensure that there's very clear communication about what's on the plan and what's in the, I said, what's in the motion. That's the real intent
Understood.
of this. Yeah. All right. All right. Someone want to make a motion?
I'll
I can do
make a
that.
motion.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, make a motion. We approve 17 Old Turnpike Road, number W20-34, modification to the existing permit number W20-3, as with the additional 5 foot of riprap, number 4-inch riprap, with all the usual stipulations.
Yeah, and there's a plan. It's an A1 plan with a
Oh,
date of August 21st from Custom Concepts, Inc.
thank you, Sharon.
Yep.
I
Well,
can't see that.
yeah, like I said, this is much more complicated now. So, all right. So we have the motion to be effective the first day after publication,
Correct.
I'll
right?
second that.
All right. Thank you, Michael. Any discussion on the motion? All right. All those in favor of the motion? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
I will abstain.
Okay.
And the reason why is I'm across the street and I don't feel it's appropriate to vote on this.
Okay. Thank you for that, Dave. All right. So the motion carries 3-0 to 1. All right. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
All right, so now on to our next agenda item, which is 730 Federal Road. Someone here for 730 Federal Road?
There should be a number of us.
Yes, I'm here, Paul
Yep.
Scalzo.
Okay.
Steve Sullivan here from CCA. Good evening.
All right, I did have
Paul, do you
a,
recognize the office behind me? It was your brother's.
It's good looking.
That's right. I forgot about that, Mark.
Yeah.
so, let's see, let's just take a quick look here. I did get a chance to get out there yesterday.
Okay.
Yeah, I did a drive-by over the weekend.
All right,
Like
so
what?
Steve, just help me
Yeah.
here a little bit.
Yep.
What is new here? We've got a revised site plan dated, that's
So-
not new, right? We did.
So Madam Chair, if you let me
for
go,
us?
I'll list what
Yeah.
we submitted for additional information as a result of the last
you.
meeting. Couple of things were asked. We submitted a tree location plan, which is sheet C7 in your new packages. It's got every 6-inch tree or greater within the upland review area. We also.
Are those the ones that you guys painted white? Were those the ones that were painted white out there?
No, we didn't paint the trees, no. We staked out the edge of the parking, proposed edge of the parking. We made sure that the wetland flags were still in the trees. We also staked out a proposed sewer lateral to that 37 Old Route 7, which is kind of, I don't know, Alice, can you bring up a plan or?
Allison, you want to do that?
Sure. Steve, do you want me to make you co-host so you can bring it up?
That's
Yeah.
the best. Thank you, Allison.
No problem.
Am I the host yet or no?
Your co-host, yeah.
You're all set.
So this is that new sheet C7, which shows all the trees within the upland review area. It also shows our limited construction line, which is the GSF line. So the trees that have the circle with the cross on them, those are trees not to be removed. And obviously within the GSF line is the area of the proposed development. We also submitted a slight change on the layout. One of the commission members asked us to revise the refuse area location and move it away from the wetland area that was to the south.
No, this is the.
So we shifted it off to the side. We also submitted a report from James McManus, who is on the Zoom call here and can go over or do a summary of his report and his findings. Should the commission hear that at this point?
We're happy. We'd like to hear that if this is the right time. Perfect.
Jim, why don't you?
Sure. So, Steve, I'm assuming that you've gone through some of this already, like what we're doing and.
Correct, at the last meeting, yes.
Okay.
So I can pull up the landscaping plan.
Yep, that's fine. Whoop. Okay. For the record, James McManus, certified professional soil scientist with JMM Wetland Consulting Services with offices in Newtown. I did the original delineation back in November of 2017, believe it or not. And then I was back out this year in August 20th, just to put my eyes back on the project site. There's two wetlands. One is to the south. They're both isolated. One is to the south, which is larger than the other one, which is, we'll go over that in a minute. And actually, Steve, if you can point to that numbered series wetland to the south.
Yep.
Right there. So that's that series. We have a isolated seasonally saturated to seasonally flooded wooded swamp with a ditch in the northern portion that drains it toward a 36-inch corrugated metal pipe under Federal Road. Typical vegetation you find in this particular wetland would be a red maple. We saw elm, American elm, sycamores, cottonwoods, honeysuckle, which is the invasive one, spice bush, ironwood, multiflora rose, which is invasive, burning bush or fire bush, which is invasive, some garlic mustard, which is invasive, cinnamon fern, Christmas fern, and bittersweet poison ivy. The bittersweet, as you know, is also invasive. A smaller wetland that you may remember from the property to the west, again, is a small isolated a wetland. Most of it is off-site to the west, but a little bit does hit our site here, 730 Federal Road. Again, this is a very small isolated wetland that drains to a north to a 36-inch flared end pipe, which continues under Laurel Hill Road, 2 points north and to the northeast. We looked at the function and values of these wetlands and mainly focused on the numbered series wetland, which is the bigger one, though we did include the A series, even though it's essentially too small to evaluate it with this kind of Army Corps of Engineers methodology. However, having said that, as you can see from my table, if you've all hopefully have my report, on page 4, you'll see a table, function and values table. So the numbered series wetland, which is the larger of the two, had 3 principal functions: groundwater recharge, discharge, the sediment toxic pathogen retention, and the nutrient removal. There are other functions that were present but not principal, which was production, export, and some wildlife habitat. The smaller wetland only had 2 functions, which is the sediment retention and nutrient removal. That was the A series. The reason for this is that the 2 wetlands are somewhat ecologically isolated from surrounding habitats, including the Still River due to the roads and such, and also been fragmentation has happened due to the, if you recall, in the Route 7 expansion project in the 90s, they started to move trees to build that project. So these 2 wetlands have sort of been cut off from others for some time now. The proposed activities, as you can see, that Steve went over last meeting, but we're going to build a building here with some parking and such. And so we have no direct impacts proposed, but we also looked at the indirect impacts. Sedimentation is one of those indirect impacts. Steve put together a robust soil erosion control plan. We don't have to look at that right now, but you can if you want. So we're comfortable with that. And also the soils that are on the site are only moderately erosive. And also that it's not a very slope site, so it's relatively flat. Looked at vegetative removal. No trees are being removed from the larger of the 2 isolated pockets, which is the numbered series wetland. However, there's enough trees and habitat left behind and undisturbed that we feel comfortable that that numbered series wetland won't be impacted. The A series is, we're going to go through it in a minute, but it has a planting plan and it's too small. And if you recall, I don't want to bring up other projects, but we also have another planting plan to the west off-site that's going to surround that A series wetland. Wetland hydrology and stream flow. The on-site contribution is relatively is groundwater and surface water, where the development is, the contribution is relatively small, and any water that goes there right now before development is probably be intercepted by that ditch and sent to the pipe. So that wetland, we're very confident that it will maintain its hydrology with the proposed development. The water quality, I don't know if Steve went through it, but I'm sure he's going to if he hasn't already. But we do have a robust stormwater management system that will attenuate the runoff, and then before it lets it go, mainly to the A series wetland. But any overflow will go into the numbered series wetland and be ready to go by the time it does all that. We do have some invasive species out there, which I kind of went through with the report, and we do have a plan put together. CCA put together a planting plan, as you can see, which includes around the A series wetland. And also, we're going to have some invasive species removal And we are proposing a 4-year monitoring plan following the plan. Once all the plants are implemented and planted, we will start our 4-year monitoring plan.
Jim, is that only on that A wetland or is that for the B one also?
Well, the numbered series we're not touching, and we already have, we're leaving a lot of trees there. There's not a ton of invasives as you get away from the development.
Okay.
Inside that, Steve, can you move it a little bit to, well, I guess to the right?
Yep.
As you get into the middle of this, it's really not, there isn't a ton of invasive species. Most of the invasive species, well, actually, most of the invasive species are on the project site to the west. And in the kind of the eastern part or northeastern part of this project site, that's where bulk of the invasives are located. However, we can certainly investigate, and there will be some invasives along the ditch.
Yeah. So I'm thinking let's get rid of them now.
Yes, that's included. That's included.
That is included.
That's included.
I'm considering the ditch part of wetland B.
The main objective is the A, because that's where the majority of them are located. But yes, along the ditch is there too.
Thank you.
Yeah. So that's kind of it for me for now. Any questions? I'm not going anywhere.
Just two that I have, Jim. In your report, you talk about there's the possibility of some wood turtle habitat in there, or some wood turtles, and
well, if
you say there's something coming on a separate cover, or
yeah, well, if you go on to the NDDB website,
yeah,
this whole area has a big blob over it, and more than likely it's you'll be talking about this probably in a little bit at the public hearing, but there's known turtle habitat along the Still River, and that's probably what this hit is all about. It's mainly associated with Still River and potential wood turtles that are along areas of the Still River. There's nothing on this site, but we need to send a note down to NDDB, and then they'll hopefully in a relatively quick manner send something back to us describing, which is probably going to be the wood turtle, because that's what is known in the area.
I have
go ahead.
I have a question on the southeast corner of the parking lot. There is what looks like a giant parking space and another one off on an angle between two trees.
Oh.
Could you tell me what that is?
Yep, so that's it's a loading area. This area is a loading area, and then this is the refuse area. The last plan, we had the refuse area right off the back of it, and I think it was Commissioner Mulvaney actually asked us to relocate that, get that further away from the wetland.
So you've moved it a little bit away rather than closer to the building.
Right, I shifted it off from here over to here, so that a truck can come right in, do its front load, back out, and go back out to Laurel Hill Road.
And what's the other thing? Just for a tractor trailer to pull in, or a big?
That's just like an SU-30, SU-30 type. No, this building's too small for a tractor trailer, but an SU-30 type box truck would come in here.
What's your closest point from a wetland? It looks to me to be at the edge of that stone wall, which I would guess would be west, on the west side of the. Oh, I'm looking at wetland 2, wetland B actually.
Yeah, right in this area, Mark?
Yeah, that's wetland A. I was actually looking at wetland B, right down there. Can we pull that silt fence in to be on the stone wall? Is there a reason we're 2 or 3 feet towards the wetland? You have to.
No, we could shift that over a bit.
Yeah, if we could make that on the stone wall or just on your side of the stone wall or something, and just save a couple of feet, couldn't hurt.
Yeah, I don't see a problem with that at all.
Hey, Jim, it's Sharon. I just want to go back. I have a question. I said when I was out there, I noticed a lot of the invasives over there, as you pointed out. On the north side, where the development is. I was actually every place I looked. I want to make sure I wasn't stepping in poison ivy.
Yeah.
It sort of slowed me down a little bit. What about the fact I said now we're kind of opening up these areas? I mean, I can see there's we've got a buffer here, the stone wall, and that line of disturbance. What about invasive species now that that's opened up, finding their way into, you're calling a wetland B or a wetland pound sign? I was a
I
little,
call it the one that's closest to Laurel Hill. I call the A series wetland.
That's
And
this
Yeah.
one, Jim?
South, I call the number. I call it number series. I know it looks like
pound
pound,
sign,
it's
okay.
actually numbered.
Oh, because the flags are numbered rather than lettered. Understood.
Right. And if I had a B series, it would be a B wetland and C, D. That's the way I do it. Other folks do it differently, but that's
oh, okay. I called it the pound sign wetland.
But you have a 4-year maintenance plan for invasives,
Yes. So,
especially for wetland A.
Madam Chair, to answer your question, we're going to be out there 4 years. So anything that's going to in the seed bank that's now open to sunlight, we'll be able to see it and get rid of it. It's not only getting rid of what's out there now, it's also, as we go back, we're going to continue to get rid of stuff, and some of it's going to be new.
Right.
All right, because they're like I said, all you guys are thinking right now is just to keep the trees that are there essentially between the stone wall and your wetlands flags, right?
Right.
There's nothing else there.
No, and he's removing the invasives in there.
Removing the invasives, and we're going to be planting with new things around, mainly the A series wetland.
Oh, I was speaking of the pound sign or the numbered sign wetland.
Well,
And-
again, as I was talking with Mark, the pound sign, the numbered series wetland along the ditch will be worked on as well and as you go in further into the wetland, it's less invasive. But again, we're going to be out there for 4 years, so we'll be checking everything.
So
Is
your
that-
maintenance plan is both A and the
Yes.
number. Okay.
Is that ditch existing?
Pardon me?
Yes.
The
Yeah.
ditch
Yes,
is
that's
existing.
existing.
Yes, if you look at, if in the report, hopefully you have colored pictures. If you look at pictures 5 and 6, the 5 I took it back in November of 17, and then I took another one this year back in August. That's what the ditch looks like. It's sort of, it's not as shallow as it looks, but it's not this like huge incised ditch either.
No, if you go out there, Michael, I said watch for the poison ivy. It's pretty evident. So
Right.
I looked at it from the road. I didn't.
You can't miss it. It has a spoil
Go
bank
into
to it. And then on 7 and 8, you'll see the drainage pipes. The 7 is the corrugated pipe under Federal Road. Goes under Federal Road, and then 8 is the flared end RCP. That's that the A series, the one that's in the north west corner, flows to periodically.
all right, like I said, we got some your report I've scanned. I definitely want a chance to read it. I'll be keen to hear some updates on the natural diversity database update on the turtle. Anything else you guys want to tell us about the material?
Yeah, so as I indicated in my letter, dated September 9th, we staked out, this
Yes.
edge of
Yep.
the parking. And also we staked out we want to change the sewer lateral location that goes to 37 Old Route 7 here. And our proposal is to run it right along the property line. So I just staked out 2 points right on that lateral in the field. So I'm not sure if someone still has to go out there, but you would see those 2 stakes there.
I saw them and I'm going, what the heck is that? And I don't remember. I did see them. I actually tried to get in there, and that was, that would look particularly hard to get in. So I actually went on the Federal Road side, but that's what those stakes are for.
Right. And so this area is going to be disturbed because of the streetscape, the sidewalk, and the granite curbing and that sort of thing. So I tried to keep that as close to that backside of the sidewalk as possible. There's an existing water main that's just off the edge of the road, right in here.
Okay.
But
You're going to
we
be
haven't
over
gotten
that
out there.
36-inch RCP with that though, right? Are you going under it or over it?
We would be going over that.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
otherwise you'd be 8 feet deep to the top. of
Yeah,
it.
right, correct. But other than that, that's all the new information we submitted since our last meeting.
Okay. Well, like I said, I want to, we've got time on this one. This is a decision date, October 27th. So we've got some time on that one. I want a chance to, like I said, take a look at, read Jim's again, go through, these. Again, when you get the diversity database, I'll be interested in it. Anything else, Dave, Michael, Mark? If I'm thinking about a motion to continue.
No, I think it's covered.
Yeah, I mean, I'm close, but I'm fine with continuing it and doing a little more research. I'd like to get into James' report a little better too, personally. So
Okay.
All right, with that, someone want to make a motion to continue?
I'll make a motion. We continue 730 Federal Road number W20-35 to our next regular scheduled meeting.
Second.
I'll second.
All right, Michael beat you, David. Let's see. Any discussion on the motion? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right, motion carries unanimous, 4-0.
Okay.
All right, that's going
We'll
to
see you
take
next
us.
meeting. Thank you.
All right, thanks,
everyone.
guys. Yep.
Night.
All right, that's going to take us. The next up we have is 100 Candlewood Lake Road.
Chairman
Yeah.
Fox, could I make a suggestion or ask a question?
Yep.
Since that was the closed public hearing, I was thinking we move to maybe new business, maybe even go to the other public hearing before we go to the closed public hearing. If there's public that's interested in the next public hearing, let's get it out of the way.
Yeah, that's a good. That's a good idea. Anyone else? So everyone else okay with that? If so, we'll defer. What number is that
So
one?
I'll make a motion that we move to item 7A, 32 Silvermine Road, W20-37.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, any discussion? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right, is there someone here for 32 on the Zoom for 32 Silvermine Road? Again, there's a lot of people on mute, so if you're trying to speak, just check.
I
You have
don't
to
see any
unmute
hands
yourself.
raised or anything.
Let's just take a look at the application
Yeah,
here.
if somebody could put it up on the screen, I would appreciate it.
All right, so let's just take a
I
look.
don't see, Tony is the one who applied. I don't see him on there.
All right, so this is for a deck.
Yeah.
Let me just try, why is that not open? Oh, why, again, it's time opening here.
Can anybody put it on the screen? Maybe Allison?
I'm going to share it now. Yep.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Wow,
Oh,
they're done.
The
I can
application you
describe
need
it.
to see,
What was that, Allison?
it's the application you're looking for?
Well,
Yeah, we just thought we'd
I don't
take a
know.
look
It's
at
a new business, so I haven't seen anything. And for some reason, my packet doesn't allow me to open anything.
Okay, yeah, I'm looking at we're just looking at the application here. So we've got the applicant's name's Tony Pina. I hope I said that
Mhm.
right.
Yeah.
Mr. Pina, we don't see you on the,
Residential.
we don't see you there. So so what we've got here is, let's see, total acreage 60, disturbed wetlands area is 0, total wetlands area on the property is blank, disturbed linear feet of water courses is blank.
Could
So
you go
let's-
down a little more? Maybe we'll get something with some information. Nothing, nothing.
It's all blank, 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 blank.
Electronic signature. Blank checklists. Or fee schedule, that helps.
Oh, you want that?
No, no, no. I'm just kidding. I've seen that 1,000 times.
Oh, okay.
Looking for anything filled out.
There it is.
Okay.
Oh,
Yeah. I just hopped over to the GIS map. Is that where you guys went to?
I can't pull up anything right now. I don't-
Mark, the first time I got them, I couldn't either. I called her or emailed her, and she sent me another set
There
of
you go.
plans with the ability to log in or to pull things up.
All right. Well, I'm looking at the GIS map. I don't know, Allison, if you can go to the next one.
The next, this is.
Yeah,
is
that
the
one.
that- This one.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Alice, you're familiar with this one, right? I think you
Yeah,
mentioned it to me this
he got
morning.
a
There's
perm,
that-
he
that
got a,
crosshatch.
yeah, he got a permit for an agent approval actually for interior demolition. And I asked him to do that because even though it's interior, you know, it's close to the wetlands. So he put up the silt fence, did it very well. And he wanted to put on that deck, but he was going to have to do a separate permit for that because it's, you know, exterior changes. And it's about 75 feet from the wetlands, not quite. But it's well protected due to the wall that in the back of the house and the existing silt fence. So I saw it as pretty straightforward.
Did he tell you, is it wood or stone, or is there planning any excavations besides maybe footings?
Just a couple footings, yeah.
All right. And you think that and the house is probably, or the edge of the garage-ish is probably 40 feet from the wetlands there-ish.
Yeah, it's
And
it's
the
close
deck is
to
further away.
75 feet from the wetlands.
And it's the 50 feet is to the lot line, right?
Yeah, yeah, I'm not sure why that is, but
All right, so some portion of the deck is in the upland review area. Some
Yeah.
portion. Yeah, maybe not even all of it.
right, because it does, the wetlands extend a little further in than the map shows, a little closer to the silt fence, so that would bring it to 75 feet or 73.
All right. I'm not seeing anything.
I don't see anything that's, but other than it's new business.
Yeah, I'm not seeing anything that I would ask them. I'm not seeing anything that I would ask them to do, because I said the 50 feet is there.
What is that?
There's like a little thing there on the 50 feet. What is, is that what you were looking at, Michael? What's that?
No,
little-
no, actually,
That's
assuming
what
those
you-
are stairs,
There's
I'm
steps.
looking at
Yeah.
that. Is that a wall or something coming off the back of the garage?
Yeah, it is.
Okay, so the wall protects it, the wetlands,
And the silt
I see
fence.
no problem with that deck.
It's very flat there too,
Yeah.
until you get, it slopes off past the silt fence towards the wetlands.
And now what that 50 feet is pointing to, I'm assuming is the stairs down from the deck.
Yeah,
And that looks like to the property line, which has nothing to do with the wetlands boundary.
Yeah, exactly, just
I think
in
he was a
terms
little
of
confused.
describing what I was talking about.
Yeah. Does anybody want to talk about it, or can I make a motion to move this meeting on?
Let's go.
I think it's going to be all right. I think we're
Yeah.
going to give it 2 weeks. I cannot think of anything to ask them. I don't think it's really necessary to get some dimensions on the deck. I mean, I think the
Nope.
50 feet, it's constrained by the home.
I'll make a motion. We continue 32 Silvermine Road, number W 20-37 to our next meeting.
All right, thanks, Mark.
Second.
Second? Do I have a second?
Yeah, Dave.
Yep,
seconded
second.
it.
Dave seconded. Sorry, Dave, didn't hear you cut out. Any discussion on the motion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion carries 4-0, unanimous. All righty, so we will come back to 100 Candlewood Lake Road, but I would like to suggest we go to the public hearing.
That's what I was going to suggest.
Yep.
You want a motion for that then, Sharon?
No, I don't think so. I don't think
Okay.
it's necessary. All righty, now all I got to do is try and find the, let's see, we've opened this public hearing. We did that the last time, and the applicant
Yep.
of the late hour. So again, I just want to thank him for that. So again, for anyone who is here from the public, again, this is a continuation. It's for 731 Federal Road. We briefly gave the applicant an opportunity to present it. Again, the hour was late, so we drew that meeting to a close. So we did not have any public comment, any questions. We will do that this evening. So again, if you're here from the public and you're interested in 731, we're going to give the applicant an opportunity to take us through the application. There are a couple of reports I think I know they want to talk about. Then we'll give you, then I will turn this over to the public portion. If you're there from the public and you have questions, you know, for either about the process or the application, we'll give you the opportunity to do that. We'll look for you, mute buttons, raise hands, all that good stuff. And we'll also give you an opportunity to speak in favor or against. So just wanted to make note of that for everyone. So unless someone has got anything else, I'd like to turn it over to the applicant. And again, when you guys speak, for those of you who are here, if you could just give us your name and address, that would be terrific. And we're going to turn it over to you.
Okay. This is Anthony Lucero, the applicant. Michelle Dinus is, he's showing up on the screen here, but he's not visible and he's muted, so he is on vacation. So Michelle from his office, who is just below me in the Zoom call, is going to pick up the engineering aspects. We have Abigail Adams with us, and I see Jody, and I assume that's Jody Chase in my bottom left. She's muted also, but she's our ecologist. So Michelle, you want to pick up? I think we need to do is explain the changes that we made at the request of Steve Trinkus.
Okay. Michelle McCauley with Artel Engineering, Brookfield, Connecticut. As Tony said, we submitted plans for the last meeting, making modifications per Steve Trinkus's request, and I could go quickly through those. Just a quick overview for any of the public in case they're here. The property is located at 731 Federal Road. It's a 7.3 acres that's currently undeveloped and forested. We're proposing to develop the site with 2 buildings and associated parking and improvements. Building 1 is located in the southern portion of the property and is proposed to be 1,900 square feet, coffee shop with a drive-through. Building 2 is located in the middle portion of the site and is proposed to be 22,000 square feet with commercial on the first floor and residential on the upper floors, level floor 2 and 3. We are providing parking throughout the site, and for treatment of the stormwater, we proposed 2 wet swales at the discharge of drainage that comes from Federal Road, and also to treat the water quality for our parking areas. We have an additional 4-bay and wet swale on the southern portion of the site to treat another discharge point from Federal Road, as well as the parking in that area. And we have 2.
Michelle, would you like to show us one of these? Would you like to show us one of these? We can give you the keys here, as they say.
Okay, if she wants to share it for me, I can show it.
Allison, you want to make her co-host?
Yeah, I'm gonna make you co-host, Michelle.
Okay, thank you.
You're all set.
Okay. So you can see it?
Yep.
Okay. So this is the site. Federal Road runs on the lower part of the paper with the Still River on the outer edge. We have the building 1 here is the smaller building with the coffee shop and the drive-through with associated parking. And we have the larger building that has the commercial retail on the first floor with the 2 upper floors being residential. We have associated parking. And then we have 2 driveway accesses off of Federal Road, 1 across from Laurel Hill Road and 1 across Old Federal Road. I'm gonna go to this plan. This shows, so we have, it's a little hard to see with hatching. Let me zoom in a little bit. We have a wet swale that's treating the drainage coming from Federal Road as well as drainage from our parking area here with stone check dams. We have an additional wet swale here that is capturing, that we're piping the discharge of the federal drainage down. And again, our discharge are here. 1 second. Oops. Oh, sorry.
It's okay. Don't
It
worry.
has a mind of its own at the
Don't
second.
Don't worry at all.
Here we go. Let me get back to that sheet. This is the one I was looking at. Okay. Sorry about that.
Hey, and Michelle, while you're looking, can you just, the revision date on this one that you're showing is what?
8/19/20.
8/19. Okay,
They
thank
were
you.
submitted for the last meeting, the previous meeting.
Okay.
Just to continue, so the roof drainage for the middle building, the large building, is going to be infiltrated into subsurface infiltration units. Going south, we have a 4-bay that leads into a wide wet swale. It's a 20-foot wide wet swale. Again, another small infiltration system to treat the building. The changes that we made since the last plan, where there was a large stormwater basin in this area that we eliminated based on recommendations from Steve Trinkus. We deepened this basin and made it a 4-bay and added in the 20-foot wide swale. And we added these 2 wet swales with the check dams to provide, treatment. The drainage from Federal Road was discharging to the Still River without any treatment. So now we're providing some treatment that will remove pollutants. With the stone check dams, it'll add as, it'll remove trash pollutants before it goes into the Still River. And we pulled the banks back a little bit to flatten it so that there's no erosion for the banks. By doing those couple of those modifications, we now have 8,313 square feet of disturbance to the wetland area. And to offset that, we have the wetland mitigation areas, which we're providing roughly 15,000 square feet of wetland mitigation. I think that was, and another change that we made to the plan was the parking lot in the northern section. We shifted because there's an area of rare plant species. So we shifted the parking lot so that we maintain approximately a 40-foot buffer to protect that rare plant species. Those were the majority of the changes we made based on Steve Trinkus and Eric Davidson's, the town consultant's recommendations. I don't know if Jody or Abigail or Jim have any comments.
So the disturbed wetland areas that you've calculated are help me make sure I understand them. They're the drainage.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, they're that drainage area where your mouse is, right?
Yeah, the dark shaded areas are those disturbance areas in the wetland review area.
Okay.
In the actual wetlands.
All right.
And that was, like I said, they're all the discharges from the wetlands.
They're discharges from the road.
Sorry, from the road. Sorry. Okay. Yes.
Yeah.
Because the pipes now discharge within the middle of the property, and we're extending them down a little further. We pulled back the grades, graded in a wet swale to provide water quality treatment and pollutant removal before those drainage pipes discharge into the Still River.
Okay. All right. Thank you for that.
Welcome.
Yeah, I don't have the, okay. All right, and Dave, Michael, Mark, any questions for Michelle? I know you guys want to take us through.
No, I think I'm okay.
I do have my concern, as I expressed last meeting, was the flood levels you've shown. And you talked about the height to keep them above the flood level, the 100-year flood, I believe it is. But those are from numbers that were done 10 years ago. I'm continue to be concerned that that this site, even the way it's drawn now, would be subject to a significant amount of flooding reasonably often. I mean, things have changed in the last 10 years, and I think we're going to see more rainfall, and I would be concerned if the floor of the building, the buildings themselves, the parking lot are high enough to avoid the flooding.
Michelle, would you, Anthony Lucero, the applicant, Michelle, would you explain to him revisions we made with regard to the elevation of the parking lot and the building, again, based on Michael's earlier concerns and Steve's comments?
Yeah, so we raised the buildings up so that they're 2 feet above the 100-year flood elevation.
Okay.
So the flood elevation goes from 274 to like 275, and for the big building, the first floor is 277. So we're 2 feet above that elevation.
So you've raised it since my last comment.
Yes, we did.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I guess my question then, does the driveway slope up to that, or is the whole parking lot raised up, or just the building?
Oh, we come, Federal Road is higher, so we slope down.
Yeah.
Towards the Still River.
But the parking lot behind the building, between the building and the Still River.
Right, so this parking lot, it goes from, there's a retaining wall along the edge of the parking lot. And I'm going to take you to the other sheet.
Well, no, stay there for me.
Oh, I was going to do the blow up so you could see it a little better.
I could see it fine, but okay.
Oh, okay.
If you want to be here, it's fine.
I was just trying to get to the elevation. So the top of the wall we have is 276, so that we're elevated about a foot above, foot and a half above that 100-year floodplain.
What does that do to the people on the other side of the river? If the water no longer comes this way in a 100-year flood, where does it go? Does it flood out the properties on the other side of the river more than they would have now?
Well, I think because we have the basin and the wet swales now, it'll get caught in the wet swales.
I think we're talking a flood so the whole Still River is flooded up to 274. So now it's going to get, in my mind, restricted on your side of this project. Instead of that water overflowing the banks of the Still River, it's going to get pushed somewhere else. And the only place for it to go is all those property owners on the other side of the river.
Well, it'll still flood our property.
It will, but now it's going to hit that retaining wall.
Mm-hmm.
And instead of, I don't remember what the topography is there now, but you're raising it up a couple of feet. So those couple of feet, it's going to restrict it and send it somewhere else. Is that?
Absolutely.
You understand what am I not?
No, I understand. I still think the water is going to continue to cut onto our property and to still flood our property.
Well, it's going to hit your retaining wall.
Are you saying it'll go over, in a flood like that, it'll go over the retaining wall?
I think it'll still go over the retaining wall, and I'm just trying to back up.
That's only when it gets up to 276, it gets over your retaining wall. So the 100 years at 274, what happens if we're at a storm where it gets up to 275? Well, it's going to go on to the other side more.
Well, we're also, so with our grading, we are cutting, so we're going to have more storage for the flood water. So
I don't know how much storage you can have to store the flood from the Still River. I don't think it would have to be a
Michelle, Anthony Lucero, the applicant.
Yeah.
We don't have on our plan, Mark, enough of the topo of the other side of the river. So what we will do between now and your next meeting is we will get that topo and we will be able to address your question more efficiently. And we'll also confer with Steve Trinkers and have his input as to what his thoughts are as far as what we are doing on our side of the river and what effects it would have on the other side of the river. So I'd ask to table that question until the next meeting.
Absolutely. Thank you for addressing that, Mr. Lucero.
Mark, this is Steve Trinkers. I'd like to address some of this kind of preemptively. You do have topo across on the east side of the river. And, you know, there's a fairly steep bank there exists actually to the properties to the north. Under FEMA mapping, you don't want to be impinging the floodway. That's really the limit of the flowing water in a 100-year event.
Right.
And in the floodplain, you may do work where we have the forebay and the broad wet swale, which are slightly cut. That's increasing the storage within the upland area adjacent to the two wetlands. While the wall is up at 275, at the southern end of the site, I believe it gets a little lower because of the topography. If you have the event, because the Still River is flowing north, that's where the water is going to come from. But it's also important to note from a timing aspect that the runoff from this site is in the river heading north long before the peak from Danbury gets up this way. So it's not a coincidental peak on a 100-year event. And also 100-year, every rainfall event is a 24-hour event. It's a midnight to midnight criteria. And if you look at historical rainfall records, and I've got a period of time in the early 2000s of 3 years from Westcon Weather Center, which is center of Danbury, we had 2 hurricanes in 2004, both of which were 4 inches in a 24-hour period. But you will not find the 100-year event that, according to NOAA, is roughly an 8-inch rainstorm by records. What we are seeing are more short duration, high intensity storms. So you get 3 inches of water in 3 hours, basically. Mm-hmm. So, on this particular site, the roof runoff is going into the infiltration system. So that's not going to the river. That's going to provide base flow to the river, long after the rainfall event has occurred. Yep. Surface runoff is going to be discharged to the river again long before all the impervious cover to the south, all the way back to Danbury, shows up at this particular point. I do not believe, based on my 40 years experience, that you're going to see any additional flooding either on this site or across the river. When we reviewed the site up the road, where the daycare facility was and some other buildings, you could see on the banks pretty much where the flood line has been from large storm events. And it was about 3 to 3.5 foot above the nominal water surface. And just looking at the topography here, you're going to be well within the existing banks on both sides for that type of an event. So it's more of a concern of these short duration storms. And that's why, the putting the drains into the soil is a good thing that reduces surface runoff. Also, the southern forebay and long wet swale that goes to the south and then comes back to the north, it's very flat and it's taking water that is going to take a long time from point A to B, from the discharge of the stormwater till ultimately reaching the Still River. So again, that gives it time to infiltrate within some of the upland soil areas. But I don't have the concern that this site's going to be subject to any more flooding after development than it currently is today. Again, based on my experience.
I appreciate that, Steve. My question really, oddly enough, wasn't about stormwater runoff from this site. I looked at your report briefly, but it was more of the flow coming from Danbury. Was it going to get impinged on a 100-year storm? I understand these more frequent, 3-inch storm, as you call it, that the Still River can contain. But if we got to a 100-year storm where the Still River's banks couldn't contain it, and it came up in where it would normally have overflowed this wooded site, would the presence of that retaining wall being over that height now push it onto the other properties? That was my question. I just want to make sure we're not going to flood out anybody else's property.
No, in my professional opinion, with the wall and the relative close proximity to where the actual 100-year flood line is, the answer is no. The water surface may rise about 6 inches because you've got the whole area for it to spread out. And also, the wall is relatively close to the upper limit of the floodplain. So if you look at the wall as the vertical side of a triangle and the natural ground is the hypotenuse sloping up, you actually have very little storage between that retaining wall and the actual flood line. So in the rest of the floodplain from the wall going to the east side and across the river, you've got a much bigger, basically a rectangular wide section. So that small de minimis triangle area of storage can be accommodated between the retaining wall and the bank on the other side, with probably a change of 3 to 4 inches of rain if an 8-inch event occurred. I'll go back and
appreciate that you seem to have looked at that. That's great.
And to follow up is, could I ask if you're aware, are you sure that the bank on the other side of the river, that the height of the bank is higher than the top of the retaining wall on this side?
They have a lot of contours here. I don't know if
I think that's something we'd like to look at.
Sarah offered to get this information.
Yeah.
We're going to get that information for you.
It looks like 270 is over here. 276 is right where she's got the cursor now. So,
what is the top of our wall? Our wall.
276. 276. So, yes.
So the wall is higher than the 270.
Correct. But you also have, again, a 270 contour here up to 272. The water is going to follow, it's going to be a level water surface, and it's just going to basically, spread out, along both sides. But, the flooding is also subject to a restriction across the channel. And I'm not aware of any hydraulic restriction north of this site that, causes a backup of water like a dam or a road crossing that's, kind of undersized where it restricts the flow. The flooding is a backwater condition that develops where it cannot spread out and it's basically constrained. Years ago in the late 90s, when we did a project in Ridgefield, we had Hurricane Floyd come through, which dropped 12 inches of rain in 24 hours, theoretically a 250-year event. And on George Washington Highway, the town had 2 fairly large box culverts under the road, but they were unfortunately partially filled with sediment over the years. And yet those box culverts, even being compromised, still passed effectively a 250-year event without overtopping the road. So, the larger the watershed, when you're looking at a site like this, everything would basically have to be frozen and completely impervious really to have any kind of impact at this area. But even if it occurred, it's going to be such short duration, of an hour that you might have an inch of water in your yard and then it's gone. It's not going to be a significant flood event. They don't happen that way.
Steve, can I just finish my thought, please?
Yeah.
Thank you. All I would like, and I think Mr. Lucero agreed to do it, let's look at the topos on the other side. Let's make sure, if we're going to call the flood 274, let's make sure 274 isn't right at someone's doorstep and we're going to potentially flood their house. That's all I want to know. We don't have the information on this existing drawing, and we will by next meeting.
We have to get that for you.
Thank you.
All right, more questions?
I just think that the site has to be developed so a 100-year event isn't catastrophic. I don't know about the 250-year event, but
All right.
I think that's what we have to worry about, and it's also just predicated on the last couple of centuries, not anything that might come. The climate changes constantly, but we just have to go with back averages.
Well, I think we do have to be concerned about the changes in the climate that we're seeing every day now.
All right. More questions for Michelle? You guys have Jim's report and got some landscaping. What else do you guys have for us? You want us to take a look at?
I think that, Madam Chairman, Anthony Lucero, applicant, I think the other information on the plans are self-explanatory, and I think that the question that Mark and Michael are asking us are the most important for us to address at your next meeting. I don't know, I have a question for Alice, though, as to where we are. We gave you an extension. I thought it was through tonight, and I think I need to give you another extension, or are we okay, Alice?
Let me take a look here.
I have on the agenda that it's, I have on the agenda because I said there was that big delay, you know, with Labor Day.
Right.
So I have on the agenda that all we know about is today would be the day.
Right.
So,
and
You have 62
Right.
days left for extensions.
So if you could consider, you know, another 30 days, 35 days, I'm not sure exactly what our meeting, let's take a look at our meeting schedule.
Alice, how many days more can I give them an extension so we don't have to do this at each meeting?
You have a total of 62 days left for the whole process. And you
So
can
we
do
are
that,
here-
and then whatever you use.
Can we extend it? Can we extend it for the next 2 meetings? And
Yeah,
how many days would that be?
October 26th?
October 13th. It would be September 29th and October 13th would be the next 2 meetings.
Right, October 13th.
All right. We will give tomorrow, I'm going to do it verbally tonight, and an extension through October 13th. And tomorrow I will have a letter drafted, I think we did it through email last period, but I will get that out tomorrow.
Can I ask a quick question, Alice? Maybe you know the answer. It's Monday, October 12th. That's also Columbus Day. Is the town
Columbus Day.
closed on Columbus Day?
Yeah,
I think it's the 13th.
it's the
right?
13th.
The 13th.
The meeting is Tuesday.
Oh, so we did switch it to Tuesday already. Okay.
Yes, and just to keep in mind while we're talking about meeting times, the next meeting is the 29th, which is a Tuesday because of Yom Kippur.
Right.
So the next 2 meetings are on Tuesdays
Right.
to keep us all on our toes.
Right. All right, well, thank you for that extension. We really appreciate that. So you guys, I said, what would you like to tell us about next? We've got Jim's report, landscaping. I know Abigail is here. What else do you guys want to point out to us?
I can briefly
go ahead,
go through
Abigail.
the landscaping plan if necessary.
Okay.
Sure.
I can put that up, Abigail.
Okay. So am I able to move through this? Or Michelle, is that you doing that?
Yeah, that's me.
Oh, great. Okay. So I can this is a perfect plan to start with. So basically moving from north to south across the property, what we're doing is we're providing different pockets of planting buffers between the development and the wetland area. So in the northern end of the parking area, we have a buffer because there's no wall. So we've got a planting buffer between the parking lot and the wetlands. And then in the areas that are disturbed on the east side of the wall, consistently throughout the site, we're proposing the seeding those disturbed areas with the New England erosion control mix. So that will occur throughout the site consistently. And again, as we move to the south by the wet swales, again, we have a pocket of buffer plantings between the development. And then in the swales, we're doing a mix of native shrubs and plugs in order to improve the water quality. So it's just an added layer of water quality in those areas. And that happens as we move south across the property for that second swale towards the match line on the property. And then
Can I ask a question while we're on that drawing?
Sure.
Yep.
I see Federal Road. I'm just trying to get everybody on the same page with me.
Yep.
I see a little grass strip. I see the greenway.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I see another grass strip.
Yeah.
And then I see your planting. Then I see a dotted line. Is that your 25-foot setback or is that your property line?
That's the property line.
All right. So then you have all those buffer plantings and the parking lot starts. Is that your 25-foot setback? Where you have all the plantings.
Yep. Sorry, I can't use my mouse on this to show you. So those are all front yard buffer plantings that are required for zoning in the front yard.
So, you know, it comes down to zoning versus wetlands. Is there an opportunity to cut down on those and slide the parking lot closer to the property line and get zoning to give you a variance instead of being that close for the whole parking lot to the Still River?
I don't think I can answer that question right at the moment. I mean, that's a significant redesign, I believe.
I understand, but you're significantly close to the Still River.
Anthony Lucero, the applicant again. Mark, I don't know, we'd have to go to ZBA, and I don't know what our hardship would be. I don't know that they would consider.
Well, the hardship would be the riparian
Still River as a
buffer zone that doesn't really exist around the Still River that should. I'm thinking, and again, just one commissioner, if we were to say split the difference and, you know, maybe, or let's say, try to take 10 feet out of that, and that's what we approve. And if zoning doesn't pass it, if they don't allow you the variance, then you got to come through back here for a modification. Because I know you got to come to us first before you go to them. I just don't like us always taking the hit. You know, Still River is a very important resource, and I know you know that. I'm preaching to the choir here. Just trying to think of ways we can stay a little further away from it.
Yeah, because essentially the way this works, right, is all the existing tree cover, right, that is along the Still River, almost all of it goes away, right? You guys got to cut it down.
There's still like a 40-foot buffer of trees from the wall to the edge of the Still River. Will still be mostly wooded, so that's about 40 feet. Some areas it goes up to 50 feet.
Do you have, is there one of the plans that shows the trees that are going to remain?
Michelle, what is it up in? No, we didn't show any of the trees.
No, we didn't show that.
There was one tree that Steve was concerned about, or
Eric was.
Eric,
that was.
I'm sorry, Eric was concerned about that we did wait for him.
Yeah, that was in this area where we had a basin previously. So that's trees saved now. It was kind of near wetland flag. I think it was like right in here. But this will all, you know, stay wooded.
Does one of the plans show the trees that are going to remain?
No.
No, we just limit of disturbance. Back to Mark's point, So Mark, what you'd like us to do is to revise the plan, disregard the zoning regulation for the front setback, and when we apply to zoning, can waive that themselves, or we gotta go to ZBA?
You broke up a little, at least to me in the middle of that. I'm sorry, Mr.
Yeah, yep, same here.
We can't hear you now.
So
Unfortunately,
what
our
I
technical
suggest is,
difficulties.
there we go. What I believe you're suggesting is that we take that area that we're looking at on this plan.
Oops, something's happening. I can't hear anything.
We're the closest to the river. I am not muted unless somebody muted me that I don't know about.
Nope, we
you're
can
just
we can
breaking
hear
up. I
you.
think
It's
it's
just
bad
every so
connection.
often you just break up.
Where I started the meeting with. So you want us to move everything to 10 feet to the west and then address it with zoning that it was a requirement of wetland.
I think you mean to the east.
And
No, to
if
the
they
west. You're right. I'm
disapprove it,
sorry. You're right.
To the west.
Ignore me.
Tony, I'm getting the gist of what you're saying. I can't hear all of it. That is what I'm suggesting, and I'm just one commissioner recommending 10 feet. I realizing zoning's still going to want a buffer, but you know, the more
Can I
we
ask what the other commissioners would,
oh yeah, you can ask the other commissioners, but my reasoning is more so than in an upland review area, we learn more and more as time goes on about riparian buffer zones, and those are supposed to be 100 feet. And that's a very, very valuable resource around the Still River. So that's why, you know, 30, 40 feet, that's one thing. As much as we can, I want to leave that buffer zone. But yes, absolutely. Let's hear from the other commissioners.
I'm hearing you said that you're still like 40 feet away from the Still River, but I don't see that in that part of the parking lot. It looks, but I don't see the, could you tell me from, well, I can't point here, but the area we're talking about, the Still River, what is that distance at the narrowest point?
I'm measuring
Right
it
there.
right here. That is
40 feet.
40 feet.
It is 40 to the
Yeah.
parking lot to the river. Okay.
Yep. You know, and it widens up obviously down here.
Yeah.
It
No, I
widens
just
here.
didn't know what scale we were looking at.
There are a lot of trees on that steep bank that are still rooted and growing. Michelle?
I'm trying to remember because I've been out there a couple times.
Because I haven't been out there on this part of the project, but I know in the Still River, when it gets steep like that on the bank, there's typically not a lot of large trees left.
I know there's a lot of trees, you know, on the top of the bank. I'm trying to think if there are trees on that bank, Mark.
Okay. I don't.
Okay, and that's one of the things I am interested in. I said I am interested in how many trees are in this, you know, between the parking lot and the river that are not coming down, or the ones that are coming down. I'm interested in that.
And if I could add that they're not infested with the vines that would kill them in the next year or two anyway. I mean, is that something we can look at in terms of invasives? Because I know a lot of, along this river, there's a lot of trees that are in trouble from the vine coverage.
Yes, we will be cleaning that up.
Okay.
Well, I'd like to know what that means. You know, I said I'm interested. I said for the trees that are there between the, you know, the parking lot and the river, the ones that are there that you're planning to have remain once you're done with the you know, with your mitigation for the stormwater management.
Is there a size that you're looking for?
Something over 4 inches. Doesn't have to be a real.
Michelle, what we'll do is, again, we can't address that this evening.
No, I know.
May I weigh in on that topic? This is Jody Chase.
Yeah, sure, Jody.
So In response to some of Eric's comments, we prepared a invasive species management plan. We don't have any of the vines that you're speaking of along the riverbank in the trees. We have the typical species, multiflora rose, bittersweet, and so forth. And your package includes an invasive species management plan for the property.
Yeah.
So that, Michael, what you're talking about is not actually an issue. We don't have
Okay,
that.
that's very good news. I was not aware. I hadn't gone back there, so I just know in many areas it is a problem. Hopefully you don't have it.
Okay, okay, that's good. And I'm just, Jody, I was looking at your, your note of the 21st. So I was hoping we would get to that. I said, but I am still interested. I said, in that area, what trees are there that that you want to take down, if there are any, and which ones are going to remain?
We'll have to get a survey done for you, and
Right.
we'll try to get that done by your next meeting.
Great, thank you.
I do want to just add that by adding the wet swales, that we're adding a benefit to the Still River, because right now all the pollutants from Federal Road discharge directly into the Still River untreated, and we are, by adding these wet swales, which will eventually become wetlands, over time, we're providing a huge benefit of pollutant removal and water quality for treatment of our site as well as Federal Road in 3 separate locations.
Sure, I totally appreciate that too. But we have to balance that. Part of the balance is to think about, like I said, the tree cover that will, that may or may not, because you guys are going to look at it, that might be coming off the Still River.
Michelle, I can appreciate that in those couple of areas you're doing that, but it's going to be a very hard sell to me to say that putting in a couple acres of pavement in an impervious surface is going to improve the water quality going to the Still River. So over a natural vegetated forest that's been there for decades. Not saying no to this project. I'm just saying that argument's going to be a stretch for me.
Okay. But I just wanted to, right now the banks are eroding. There's salt, sand that gets into the river that.
I do appreciate that.
It's a disaster. You're right.
Right, and this is it's a good benefit to treat that the runoff from Federal Road from the state drainage.
Right.
As a standalone project, putting those 3 things in is great. I'll sign up tonight.
We're for it. We're all for it.
And our limited disturbance line is at the wall, so except for in our planting areas. So our intent is to save any trees beyond the walls to provide that riparian buffer from the walls to the river.
Well, but the riparian buffer should be at least 100 feet. I mean, ideally.
In an ideal world, yeah.
Right.
And all I'm trying to do is buy a few more feet, if possible.
We're going to revise the plan, Mark.
Yeah.
We'll see how we do with zoning.
Again, Tony, I'm sorry, I could only hear.
Nice audio. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You guys have been drifting in and out in the last 10 minutes here.
Yeah, it does happen. I'm able to hear everyone but you, unfortunately. So, but we're getting the gist of it, I think. So, all we can do is all we can do.
Yeah.
You guys have anything else for us? You want us to take a look at this evening? We sort of your landscape plan.
No, I don't think so.
Jody, or
and I think Mark had to leave I forget the hour, but we have some things to do for you.
Okay.
Ideally, we can get it done by your the 29th.
So how often does the zoning board of appeals meet?
Dave, hang on a second. Let Tony try and finish. Hang on 1 second. I think he hadn't finished, so.
Okay. What we will do is we're going to try to get done we know we'll get the topos for the east side of the river done. I don't know if I can get the tree survey done by your next meeting, but I'll attempt to do that.
Right.
And we'll definitely get the plan revised to move in the
Right, because
so
that's
2
gonna
out of
get,
the 3 things I know I can get done for you.
okay.
Thank you.
So, Dave, did you have something else? Again, I wanted to let.
Well, we have to coordinate this now with zoning, so,
I don't
or
think.
zoning board of appeals, so.
Actually, we
We do not. We do not. We don't
Well,
have coordination.
What we're going to do is we're going to revise the plans.
Yep.
Assuming you approve them.
Yeah.
Because your approval will be the foundation under which we're requesting the variance.
Right. That would be the hardship, is that was our approval.
Right. Okay. Let me, anything else for us or the commissioners' questions for the applicant? Again, I don't want to give the public, if there's anyone from the public that has a question or wants to speak about the application.
I do not see anyone from the public signaling at all.
All right, so again, just if anyone is here from the public and has a question about the application or a question about something that you heard this evening, again, we're looking for raised hands or people unmuting or something. There used to be a chat. And we don't see anything.
I don't see anyone from the public either.
I see nothing.
All right, so again, no questions. Let me just ask the public, is for anyone who's here, anyone want to speak in favor of this application?
Again, I see no indication of anything.
See anything there? Anyone from the public want to speak in opposition?
And again, I see no one from the public.
We don't either. Yep. All right. Well, again, any wrap-up comments from the applicant or my colleagues?
None from the applicant.
All right. Well, again, Mr. Sir, I just want to thank you again for helping us out 3 weeks ago and appreciate your extension here till the middle of October. All right. If there isn't anything else, I'll take a motion to continue this public hearing to our next meeting.
I will make a motion. We continue item 730. Make a motion that we continue 730 Federal Road, item W20-35, public hearing to our next regular scheduled meeting on Tuesday, September 29th.
Okay, thank you. Second. All right, that was that Dave?
It was Michael.
I think it was Michael.
All right, thank you, Michael. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Aye. I hear 4 ayes. 4 ayes, no opposed. All right, motion carries unanimous. All right, thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so I think that's going to take us, what did I do with my agenda here? I think that's going to take us.
That will take us to 100 Candlewood Lake Road, number W20-24 New School Project. Public hearing is closed.
All right, so I would like to propose, I said I'd like to have, I want to give everyone an opportunity. I said you've had a chance to review the plans and such. I wanted to make note here that there is the decision date on this. The state gives us 35 days to make, to make a decision. Because of Labor Day, this meeting is pushed out a week. And because of the holiday, our next meeting is not until the 29th. Which is a day after, the decision date. So I think before we leave this evening, there can be some consideration of that. Potentially the applicant, would be interested in allowing an extension for that date. So, I said, I've got some ideas, but let me start with, I said, let me give you an opportunity for all my colleagues to maybe share some, what your thinking is on this. No particular order. I know, Dave, you want to start? Maybe we'll start in alphabetical order.
I don't have any additional comments at this moment. In some respects, I've said this in the past, it's almost like a square peg in a round hole, but that would just be reiterating.
Okay.
That put me up next in our.
Yeah, Michael or Mark, I said, I don't know. I wasn't trying to put anybody on the spot here. It's just, it's harder to, like I said, to look around and see who wants to talk. So
Mark comes first.
Michael, yeah, I do a lot of talking. I'd really like to hear what you have to say before I ramble.
Are you looking for my comments then?
I would love that. I think it would be a warm welcome from me talking.
I'm continue to be concerned about the loss of wetlands without any wetlands creation to mitigate that. And especially when it appears that there would be reasonable opportunity to create new wetlands in the property to the south, in the large area in front of the parking lot to the east of the parking lot. I'm not sure why some of those areas were not explored with the town, because I understand it would need their involvement if we were going to go off this particular or this site, which is very restricted because of the town's requirements that the old schools stay open and operating throughout the construction. But there, I would hope, and I think there is some opportunity to create some wetlands to make up for what's being lost.
okay, thank you, Michael.
I guess that leaves me. So.
And me.
Well, and would you like to go next, Chairman? I think the chairperson gets the last hurrah. So I gonna start with, I agree with Dave's comment about a square peg in a round hole. Might be more of a rectangle peg in a square hole. We're just trying to put too much stuff into a small opening. I look at prudent and feasible alternatives, and I know we're not allowed to suggest what they are. We kind of alluded to a few during the meetings. There certainly seems to be a number of ideas in my mind that can at least shrink the footprint. Without really being able to say what they are, I don't think I can say what my ideas are.
Well, no, I think there's some, we can certainly give, directions, whether that's building size.
I have ideas, if you put a second story on, I know you need an elevator, but it shrinks the footprint. You can delete courtyards, and that can suck the sides in away from the wetlands. You can do a parking garage and get rid of one of the parking lots, make them smaller, then the building can come up away from the wetlands. You could rotate the building. There's a number of things in my mind, it's just me, that could have been done to give us prudent and feasible alternatives that didn't cost a lot more money. Because I know that financial considerations, can be taken into consideration. But very, very, almost always when someone's trying to impact a wetland, that's the first thing we ask them to do is shrink the footprint, right? Cut down a few houses in the development, or whatever it may be, lose some parking spaces, change the zoning regulations, as we saw earlier tonight, in order to not have these impacts. So I'm struggling. In my mind, I'm at the point where if this were a developer or a homeowner and not the town, I wouldn't even be struggling with this decision. The decision would be made. Do I want a new school? Yeah, but that can't influence my decision on a wetlands commission. I'm looking at this solely as a wetlands issue, And I think there's ways to not have the direct impacts to the wetlands that we have. And if we do have to have them, then yeah, we absolutely have to have the recreation somewhere, and somewhere close is a, you know, to echo Mike's point, Michael Newstadt's point, I shouldn't call him Mike. It's just too much, too close. Everything is up jammed absolutely as tight as they can. And we've gotten rid of some wetlands that are a valuable commodity in this town, and it's a statewide structure and really nationwide structure, the wetlands. That's where I'm at.
Well, I am, I too, as I said, I am really stuck on, like I said, it's the permanent loss of, by my calculation, 1,190 square feet of wetlands. They're gone. It's great that you know, I assume it's nice that the stream is opened and that the wetlands, which perhaps have been mowed and maybe not, you know, and have allowed a number of invasive species. It's nice that those are going to be improved and the invasives will come out and there will be landscaping. But the net of it is there's 1,190 square feet of wetlands where that do provide some recharge, water recharge to the area. They are habitats for some animal, maybe not the big gorgeous species that a lot of people are familiar with, but it is a habitat. And I also think that building could be done differently, whether the footprint is shrunk or some of those courtyards are changed, or where that playground is, or how the access area around the back of that building is set. Maybe it could be closer. Maybe that sidewalk could be moved. I truly believe, as we've talked about throughout this process, there are some other alternatives, some other prudent and feasible alternatives. I do appreciate that the applicant went through a number of options that they show. Well, look, we went from a lot of impact to less and less and less and less and less, but we stopped when we still had impact. And I just cannot see the loss of wetlands when there are alternatives, I think, to change the building, or or take a look at, some wetlands recreation, to make up for that loss of wetlands. And that's really where I am. I really believe there are some other options and alternatives that are available here. I mean, once
Sharon, this is sort of beyond.
They're gone. They're gone.
Hold on, she's still talking.
Yeah, no, I'm saying once the wetlands are gone, they're gone. I share Mark's concern that he mentioned that we've got access ways that are bumping up right against wetlands 2 and 3. We've got buildings that are sitting right on top of wetlands, and I cannot. Every other applicant that we have worked with here has found a way to try and maintain, some distance and some space from wetlands, because things happen. And I'm not seeing that in this application as well. So, yeah, Dave?
Yeah, the problem is there are issues that are beyond the responsibility of the Inland Wetlands Commission, and there are other issues here, and we can only address inland wetlands.
Correct.
Yeah, I am for a new school. Make no mistake about that. It's just it's a square peg in a round hole, or a rectangular peg in a square hole, as Mark said.
Right. So I am,
one of the difficulties with this is that the town wants to continue to use the school while there's construction. If if that could change somewhat, the whole the whole area could be looked at differently.
There is always that temporary
Right.
classrooms, that kind of thing, which again, not our issue, but
No,
that's
right,
obviously
right.
an alternative. You're absolutely right.
Yeah. I think and once again, it doesn't matter for the project proposed, but I think the present footprint is absolutely fine. It's worked well. I like Mark's idea about, multiple floors or a parking lot on the bottom, although I'm concerned about student safety at the same time. We're talking about fairly young children, and when you start getting involved with elevators, more and more stairs, there can be injuries or problems.
I would counter that with more than half the towns in this house are 2-story, and all those kids get up and down the stairs to go to bed and get up every morning somehow all on their own.
Yeah, but people do fall downstairs. It does happen.
Yeah, but gentlemen, from our standpoint, my suggestion.
Irrelevant. Yep.
Let's try and keep it to, to building
Wetlands.
Wetlands issues. If you, there.
And
Yes,
and to be clear, this is stuff that we asked for, and I wasn't really thrilled with the level of answers that I feel I received as far as prudent and feasible alternatives. To Michael's point, the creation, of more wetlands somewhere else.
Right. I mean, and
Really suggest that that's just a condition. I think that's just too much of an ask.
I think there's a lot of options, for this property. I think the number of options sort of, if we had a simple, okay, do one thing, and maybe that's a reasonable way, but I think there are just too many there are too many possibilities for us to set, like stipulations. There's just too many. I can't stipulate, do this, recreate 2,000 square foot of wetlands or change this building footprint. I think there's just too many possibilities for us to set stipulations as a condition of approval.
I tend to agree with that, but I would personally, I would like more time than just tonight. I mean, when we make a decision after a public hearing, it's always been at least 2 meetings and sometimes 3. I would like more opportunity for, to think about what other ways can we get there that maybe there's some stipulation that cures all the ails that I'm just not there right now. I'd like to hopefully maybe something comes out. It comes to us, one of us, but I need more time before I made a decision that I couldn't make a decision. I don't know if that's
right.
We have to just look at what's being presented to us right now. It's nothing more, nothing less.
I would agree, though, that a little additional time, if the suggestions we've come up with, I for one would be willing to, I think, a little more willing to approve something if there were stipulations that would give us what we're asking for. In my case, creation of a significant amount of new wetlands in a contiguous or nearby site. If that can be done, and if we could get some assurances of that, I think I would be a little more willing to look at an approval with those stipulations. But as both Mark and Sharon have said, is that I'm not there tonight. I think we need more time, and we need to hear a little more about these possibilities.
So, Michael, I agree with you on that. The issue to me on that regard is the hearing is closed. We can't get any new information at this point. So I need to think about it. I wouldn't even know how we go from not having permission to use the space next door at all anyways, to us putting a stipulation that they have to be able to use space next door when we can't even get information that they can or are willing to do that. I don't know. I need to do
Well, you're talking about a technical matter in terms of what we can and can't do, and you're a little more knowledgeable than I am on that subject. And if that can't be done,
Well,
then I have more problems with this.
I don't know how it could be done, right? If we cannot get new information, right, Chairwoman?
Right, no, that's right. At this moment, we cannot accept new information because the hearing is closed.
So it's not like we can ask.
And we asked, and by the way, that's one of the reasons, as we were talking last week, we asked the applicant if they, if they wanted to provide some more information. And the answer, at least their answer at that moment was no, there wasn't anything additional they could present.
They put their best foot forward, and that's it. That's the plan is the plan. That's the way we have to judge this.
Yeah, so I mean, in general, historically, I mean, for a big project like this, this is a big project, and Mark and Dave and Michael are mentioning, and that it's good to have this out, have a conversation, amongst all of us, and share what our thinking is. And historically, we've had a conversation like this, and then we've also had the time, say in our subsequent meeting, to sort of come to a final understanding of, what a motion might be.
Okay, so we can't take new information, but can we stipulate some conditions to an approval
Well,
that hadn't been talked about before?
Well, we don't, someone, right, all of us have the opportunity, to draft a motion. It doesn't have to be one of us. It doesn't, if there's consensus, then someone can sort of offer to make a motion and try and write down what that person understood to be the consensus. And then in a follow-on meeting, we would go through it and see where we all landed.
But my question specifically is, since we can't take new information from the applicant, but we can offer new ideas for a condition.
Yeah, and we have in the past, particularly, when the stipulations are, we have in the past, you can, again, it can be approved with some, with stipulations. Those tend to be, they'd have to be very specific. Yeah, they'd have to be very specific.
Yeah, and at some point we have to limit them. Maybe, and I don't know where that limit is. The ones I can think of that we've done is a better planting plan, or how they're going to where they're going to put their signs for the conservation easements. Certainly, it would be beyond the purview to say, hey, you have to shrink the building by 25 feet. That's not something we could put in a condition. Is it possible to say that you would need to create some number of wetlands offsite? I don't know where the line is on that. Maybe.
Well, someplace, right? You'd have to create wetlands someplace. I don't even know if we could get to the point of off-site, Mark. I'm not sure.
Right.
That's the remedy here, incidentally. It's the amount of wetlands that exist pre and post building. That's really what we're talking about here.
That's what I'm.
So if we can come up with a way of, now I feel the applicant would have already presented something that would have remedied this, and we don't have it.
Well, and always better than creating wetlands somewhere else is not harming the wetlands
that are there,
irreparably damaging the wetlands here.
Right.
That's absolutely correct.
Right. I mean, and that for me, that's that is a priority.
Right.
We are the Wetlands Commission, so that makes all the sense in the world.
Right. To recreate wetlands is not it is not risk-free, and no one that I've ever read says they're 100% successul. And that's one of the reasons that many times they are multiples of of the wetlands that they would like to destroy.
I'm new on the commission, but man-made wetlands, I don't know how long they would last anyway, because they're artificial.
Well, and that's what Ms. Fox is alluding to. There's a survival rate that varies greatly, which is why we would typically ask for considerably more new wetlands than they were getting rid of.
Yeah, and some plans, are just for the nature of the property or the nature of the hydrology or a lot of variability, some are more successful than others.
Well, that's why if we ask them to create more wetlands, it's going to make the project more difficult.
Yeah, I personally think the preferable way would be to change that building around, shrink that footprint, and not impact 4 and a little bit of 3, the 1,190 square feet, if my arithmetic is correct, plus or minus.
Yes, but I don't know that we can't really say that, can we?
Say what?
I don't think
your thought just now about shrinking the footprint. We're just judging this by wetlands, no more, no less.
Right.
Yeah. Wouldn't that be zoning or planning that would?
No, we're saying,
if they shrank the building,
the way they chose.
If they shrank the building, well, if they shrank the building footprint, then the wetlands, 4 and 3 would not be impacted. The smaller building, those wetlands would not be. However, they get there.
Or a relocated building.
Right. Can we put that in the stipulation? I don't know that that's appropriate.
Stipulation in my.
Well, it is appropriate to provide them some, alternatives, which
guidance.
We talked about. Yeah, it is. It is appropriate to provide them,
Okay.
Of our ideas, right? Some of our ideas on what the other prudent and feasible alternatives would be. And I think we've done that. We talked about it in the hearing. It was in some of the, some of our, the consultants made note of some of that. We've talked about it. We are talking about it here. And so there are many options, there are many options available, I think.
So, Ms. Fox, if I may ask you a question along that line, if we're providing them what we think is some prudent and feasible alternatives, that doesn't leave, there still isn't any options. Well, maybe there is an option, right? Because our options are to approve or deny. That's our only option. Approve.
That's it. Approve or deny.
No.
The applicant could withdraw it and reapply.
Yeah.
Taking into consideration what we're suggesting.
That is also an option for them. But our options are approve as is, deny for reasons, or approve with reasons, deny with reasons, or approve with stipulations that, that are essentially executable.
Right, but we can't, as a stipulation, tell them to move the building or shrink the building. That's beyond what we can stipulate.
No. What you just mentioned, that third alternative, that could be difficult.
Right. All right. Well, I think we are. I think my sense is the 4 of us are kind of aligned in our thinking that the project as is not appropriate, and there are feasible and prudent alternatives that would protect the wetlands, which is our concern. I think the 4 of us are aligned on that in general.
As much as I would like to approve a school somehow, somewhere, this is not the project as laid before us that I feel that I can do that. I would agree with you on that.
Right.
I think we're very close, but I would have to agree that we need to see a little more in terms of protection of the wetlands that are there.
Okay.
Or creation of new ones.
I still don't think I can vote on that tonight, though. I still want.
No, I don't know.
Okay, we can wait a session or two. I do think we are in alignment, but Mark, if you want to put it off for a meeting or two, I'm okay with that. Just mull it over. It's always better to go slowly than fast.
Have we gotten an extension? Because I believe the deadline was the one day before the next meeting.
Yeah.
No, not that I am aware of. I don't know, not that I'm aware of. I don't know if there's any breaking news, Alice.
Alice, maybe you know. You're on mute.
Jeffrey, looks like Jeffrey might want to speak.
I'll speak on.
Yeah, we can take information about an extension.
That's all I'm going to speak to. I'm not going to speak to
thank
the
you.
application. So unfortunately, there's no other representatives from the town here regarding the MBC or the owner's project representative, owner's project manager. So I'll speak on behalf of the town and basically grant the extension until the next meeting so that it gives the town and various different representatives time to decide on what they'd like to do.
Well, I very much appreciate
So
it.
to be clear, you'd be extending us to September 29th.
Yeah.
Right now it expires 28th. You'll ask for an extension to the 29th.
Yeah, absent of other feedback from representatives from the town, I think that's the prudent thing to do at this juncture.
Well, and we appreciate that. And part of our reason is, it's not just, I said, giving us the opportunity to talk about it as commissioners and see where everyone is thinking and the opportunity to mull it over. We are a little hampered just because of the holiday schedule. We lost a week from Labor Day, and now we're, and our next meeting isn't for 3 weeks because of another holiday. So we're stretched out here a little bit. So I am very grateful for that extension for 1 day to the 29th.
Is it possible also that we can have a special meeting if, before the 29th to vote on this?
Well, I don't think
the
we have
week before, the latter part of the week before?
It is certainly possible. I personally am not, I serve on a lot of these different town boards and commissions. Special meetings never get the public attention. It can only be focused to one topic, which is fine in this case, but it seems to always be very hard to get people. I have this meeting carved out, and I get very busy on it almost every other night.
Yeah, and I would probably have to echo that. I mean,
okay.
I am still working, and my work.
No, that's okay. When I was on the planning commission, occasionally something significant would come up and we would have a special meeting just to vote on it. It wasn't very long, it was 5 minutes and that was it. But no, I'm okay with waiting till the 29th. That's fine.
Okay. All right. Any other anything else people want to share? If not, I'll entertain a motion to continue this to September 29th.
September 29th.
Yeah, September 29th.
I have nothing further.
All right, well then I'll make the motion then to continue the public hearing for it's 100 Candlewood Lake Road.
Is that a public hearing?
20-24.
Is it still a public hearing or?
No, we're just continuing the old business.
Yeah, okay, because you said public hearing, that's just.
Well, yeah.
Well, that's closed.
Yeah, I'll extend the decision, extend our agenda item for the public hearing.
Okay.
Although the public hearing is closed, to our next regularly scheduled meeting on September 29th.
I'll second it.
Michael seconded that.
Okay, Michael seconded it. Again, just a big thank you to the applicant for giving us that extension of 1 day. That's very, very, very much appreciated. So with that, I'll call that motion for the continuation of the old business item. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion carries. Thank you, everyone.
Chairwoman Fox, I've got a lot of work left to do tonight.
Yep.
I'm gonna leave you guys to go through minutes of the other meeting and all of that, if that's okay.
No, I have to tell you, I've got some things I need to do, so.
Yeah, okay.
One thing.
Alice. Yes, Alice.
The approval that you did for 17 Old Turnpike, it should be really approved with stipulation that it's revised as noted on the drawing. I think you guys just approved it.
I approved it with the note. I noted that. I may not use the term stipulation, but I did note that they were going to be putting in a 5-foot
riprap.
I did say that.
Okay. That
The
should be
motion does reference the additional 5 feet of number 4 riprap.
Perfect.
Yep.
Right, and then what we'll do is, Alice, on that, we'll, I'll just come over one day and I'll make sure it's on there before I sign it.
Okay.
Okay,
Good.
but thank you. It's always better to check.
Yes.
Oh,
It's
absolutely.
always better
Yep.
to double check. All right, everyone. Well, again, if there isn't anything else, like I said, we'll defer the minutes until our next meeting. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I move we adjourn.
Second.
Oh,
Thank you, Dave.
seconds.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye.